Hey, what's up, everyone? Renee here. As many of you are aware of by now, I have been attending New York Film Festival for the last couple of weeks. And one of the films I had a chance to see was a movie called Foe, directed by Garth Davis. Garth Davis, you should know by now, was the director who brought us Lions several years ago. And now he brings to us this new kind of sci-fi family drama deconstruction of a marriage type of movie, which is very interesting, but stars two wonderful actors of our generation, and that is Saoirse Ronan and Paul Mescal. Personally, I enjoyed the movie, but what really made me enjoy the movie even more and appreciate it even more was having a chance to hear Garth Davis talk about it at the end of the movie. So here in this video, I'm bringing to you the full Q&A session that took place after the screening of this movie. Now, I will have to say, if you haven't seen the movie yet and you are definitely planning on watching it, then don't watch this video yet because there will be a lot of spoiler stuff discussed. If you don't want anything spoiled for you, watch the movie first and then come back to this video later on. But if you're someone who has seen the movie, whether you liked it or not, I think you're going to get a lot of cool information from this discussion, hearing Garth Davis talk about it. And maybe it will change your opinion about the movie, and maybe you'll learn some things, and maybe some of the questions you had lingering in your head will be answered by watching this. As you know, I really enjoy bringing these discussions to you, especially for those of you who aren't able to attend such events like this. And I listened to all of the comments and feedback that I got out there from my previous videos, and I have left in all the audience Q&A question. All the full, when I say this is the full discussion, this is the full discussion session here, including all the audience participation. So enjoy it, and I hope it is everything that you have been looking for. And of course, if you enjoy watching these videos and you appreciate me bringing these type of videos to you, it really helps a lot if you just spread the word, share this with some people you may think will like it. Hit that like button and comment. Let me know what you thought about the video. Let me know what you thought about the discussion. Did you learn anything? Did you appreciate what Garth was saying about the movie or the filmmaking process? What did you think of the movie as a whole? Let me know all your thoughts and all that, and mainly because algorithm is the big thing that all of us here on YouTube are striving to kind of combat and get the best out of it, and hopefully will strive. Anything that you do as far as like liking, commenting, even subscribing and hitting that notification bell can go a really long way as far as helping the channel out with the YouTube algorithm. And of course, I really totally appreciate all of that. Now, if you want to go the extra mile and help support the channel even more so, check out some of the affiliate partners we have in the description, like for example, Surfshark. So happy to have Surfshark on board as one of the affiliate partners for the Lowkey Geek channel here. If you're in the market for a new VPN, I highly recommend a company like Surfshark. And trust me, I've tried all of the VPNs out there, and by far Surfshark is the #1 clear-cut winner for me because of many reasons. Yes, of course, it gives you great protection and security protection while you're browsing the internet, especially when you travel and you're in other countries or other states, and you want to make sure your browsing data is, fully secured and no one is like spying in on you or stealing some of your stuff that you're transmitting online. What I mainly use Surfshark for is for unlocking the streaming services that I already pay for. There's no better feeling in knowing that you can get more out of your streaming services by accessing content that is not necessarily readily available for you in your region. What do I mean by that? Well, a great example is that recently I wanted to check out some movies off of Hulu, but I don't subscribe to Hulu. But I found out that in the UK, Hulu movies are shown on Disney Plus. So all I had to do was connect to the UK server there through Surfshark. And then once I was connected, I just logged into Disney Plus and bam, Hulu movies were available, and I was able to enjoy it without any issues with quality due to speed, because everything was playing perfectly and the audio was coming in crisp and all that. It's as if I was just watching it normally through my normal internet connection. But the main reason why Surfshark is by far the best is because it is the cheapest out there. And I can't stress that enough, where, we're all trying to save money here. And with all the stuff that we pay for on a monthly basis, the last thing we need is to add on an additional high monthly payment to our bills, and Surfshark will not hurt your wallet at all. As a matter of fact, if you scan that QR code you see on the screen right now, or you check out the link in the description of this video, you'll find out how you can get Surfshark for 85% off plus 2 additional months for free. Again, I can't speak highly enough about it, and I'm so glad I came across him, and I'm so glad that they decided to partner up with us here. So again, if you are in the market for a VPN, or maybe now you're more interested more so now to check them out for the first time, scan the QR code you see on the screen right now, or check out the link in the description and find out how you can get 85% off plus 2 months for free. Again, thank you so much, and if you do try Surfshark out, let me know what you thought about him when you do, and let me know your thoughts about the service in the comments of this video. Now, with all that out of the way, and I appreciate your patience, enjoy the full Q&A session with Garth Davis, director of Foe, taking place at the Museum of Moving Image. Enjoy, and thanks for watching.
Congratulations on the movie.
Thank you, and thanks for coming out and watching it. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's one of those movies where it's good to know it'll wind up streaming, because I think it's a film that people are going to revisit. To sort of see, again with a perspective on knowing where the film is going, like looking at those performances again and answering a bunch of questions that you've raised.
I mean, it's nice to talk about it with people that have just seen it.
Yeah.
And yeah, what's really unique about this film is that you can watch it a second time and it's a new movie. And the main difference being the second time you watch it, you'll have real emotional connection to Hen, because you understand what she's searching for and how you're doing it. So yeah, it's one of those unique stories where you've got kind of two films in one.
Exactly. I want to start by talking about the collaboration, the book, and the collaboration with Iain Reid. Iain Reid wrote Thinking of Ending Things, which was really wonderful. Adaptation was made of that by Charlie Kaufman. He, I guess, specializes in films that are, puzzlers, that are in these genres, sort of supernatural genres, but that are at heart about the most intimate of stories. So could you talk about, and I understand that you read the book and then really went after it as a project. So could you talk about that?
Yeah, somebody said, Garth, you really got to read this book. So I read the book and really fell in love with it. And then I found out that they were looking for a director right at that moment. So I went, yes. And it was competitive and I got the gig. I guess, so I'm very grateful for. I guess for me, what I found so amazing about it was, when I was reading it, is that it was such a peculiar mystery. I thought I was going one direction, and then Iain Reid so beautifully takes you in another direction, which I really enjoyed. But what I wasn't expecting to discover was this portrait of a decaying marriage. And not only that, the portrait of this woman fighting for agency in her own life and trying to save her marriage. And I found that very, very moving. And also the science fiction element and all of those peculiar elements, in a way, was a really exciting way to explore a relationship.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like it's not exactly a red herring, but the film starts off talking about what the future is going to be like. It deals with climate issues and artificial intelligence, but at heart, the core of the film is that relationship. What was your collaboration with Iain Reid? So this was you wrote it together, and is it true that it was the first big screenplay for both of you? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, it wasn't the plan.
Okay.
It was not the plan.
What was
we
the
put together a really good screenwriter to do this, but they weren't available. And so we thought, okay, well, while we're waiting a year and a half or 2 years, let's go into the room and have a conversation. So we went into the room, and I was really keen, because I'd only just met Iain, and I flew out from Australia to meet him. And we just started page turning the novel, and we're just talking about it. And weirdly, all the things that I'd highlighted in my novel were all the things that he'd highlighted in his book.
Yeah.
And we just really got along. And that conversation started growing into what the film could be. And very, very quickly we realized we can feel this in our bones. So we kind of came out of that meeting, went knocked on Kerry's door, our producer, and said, it's a kind of crazy idea, I know, we haven't really written a screenplay, but we would really like to write this. Will you give us a go? And, if you don't like it, that's cool. You can give it to someone else, but we would really like to have a crack at this. And she said yes.
There was a reference in the press notes to music that he listened to when he was writing the book. And is that the music's so important in the film?
Oh, exactly. I mean, the way I like to work is that the minute you, even with Lion, for example, the minute you have a concept for a movie, whatever, I like to kind of experience as much as I can of it in the real world. So, like in Lion, I went to India. With this, I just got to Canada to where.
Right, he lives in Canada.
That's right. Iain lives in Canada, and the book was inspired by all the farms in Ontario. So I said, I need to see these farms, and we met farmers, met their families, and we just got on the road together. I just really wanted to kind of absorb where the inspiration came from. I thought that was an important ritual. And while we're doing that, of course, we'd be playing music together. What's the music that Hen's playing on the piano? What's the kind of music that evokes the mystery and the suspense? So the whole time you're kind of building the world of the movie, like even before you put a word on the page.
Yeah. So I don't want to talk too much about the book, but you made some shifts in the screenplay to shift it a bit more towards her point of view. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, the book is solely from Junior's point of view, like you read his head, I guess, which is a great read, but it's very internalized and very, novelesque, I guess. And really the story, if you boil it down, is Hen's story. So we decided the seismic shift was to move it to her point of view. Yeah, that was really the main thing.
I mean, you couldn't have a better cast. Those two, I mean, all three, but Saoirse, Ronan, and Paul Mescal. What was, I guess, the casting, was that something you wanted immediately? And then I want to know what the rehearsal process was like, because it seems like you had more time than usual for a feature film to really work with actors before you started shooting.
They're all good questions.
Okay.
I guess for
It's
me,
true though. Is that true?
look, I don't know what other directors do.
Okay.
Okay. I have worked with Jane Campion, so I did learn a few things from her. She's got a lot of time. Anyway, we'll get onto that later. I guess Hen being the spiritual totem of the movie meant that I thought we should cast Hen first. And it was really important to me that the actress that played Hen, despite her acting, in her spirit and in who she is as a human being, had a shining and had something that was precious, because the movie is about fighting for things that are precious. And there's not many actresses that have that quality. And if you look at Saoirse Ronan, despite all the characters she's played, her soul and her spirit shines through her performances. And that's something that's very special and unique. And so she was the most important thing. Once I found her, I had to find her husband. So no easy feat. And then, I mean, I met Paul randomly, actually. Went to Sydney. He had read the material. He wanted this job. He wanted this challenge. He was desperate to do this film. And he had a beautiful, he was very alpha, but also very feminine. I thought he was a very beautiful human being as well, in a soulful way. And the fact that they're both Irish, I thought was just the icing on the cake, because it just meant immediately there was a common ground that was very deep. So the believability of that marriage was very important to me. I didn't want it to feel Hollywood or kind of fake. I wanted it to feel rich and raw, and so that was that. The biggest challenge was really Terence, because you can always trip on the antagonists. It can be a trope or a stereotype. And I think he was the one that took more time to discover. And Aaron Pierre was all the things I hoped for. He had this physical difference. He had this beauty. He felt otherworldly. But also the way that he thinks about things as an actor as well is so beautifully precise. He managed to find truth behind all the reasons why he really felt that what he was doing was going to change humanity. He really believed it, and he found truth in the performance of that. So that was amazing. In terms of the rehearsal process, I just have a rule: minimum 2 weeks. So I try to get the actors all together for 2 weeks. We rehearsed. I decided to take the actors out of the city, and we rehearsed in a natural environment. We went to a place with a lot of forest and trees, because I wanted us to be around what gets lost in the story, what's not in the story. And so we spent a lot of time in Australia in the bush with koalas, kangaroos. We were rehearsing in under the trees. We hired a house. We had a chef who would just cook beautiful food for us when we ate, and we just worked intensively together, kind of like camp rehearsal. And then for the last 4 days, we travelled up to the set and we built the house on location. And I gave the actors access to the house to spend as much time as they'd like to make it their own and familiarise themselves with the environment. So I'm a very big believer in the actors connecting deeply to sense of place, and I thought the forest was a great idea so they can reflect on what's lost.
And what was the region in Australia? And is it true that like that pink beach is that we see is real? I mean, that's what it's really like.
Yeah, the pink. Yeah, so we shot at we basically built the house on location 2 hours north of Melbourne in Australia. It's actually a national park owned by the Indigenous Australians, the Yorta Yorta Nation, and it was a long process of working with them to approve the area and for them to give us access to that was a really actually a whole other conversation. And then we were at the Dockland Studios where we built some of the house on stage, and then those more kind of intense landscapes we went to the Woomera and South Australia, which is incredibly ancient. You know, we went up to Lake Eyre and all these parts of Australia that, you know, you have to be in a chopper for 4 hours to get to. And these landscapes are extraordinary. So we shot fast on that stuff to try and deliver to you guys an experience, you know, and the Earth is a character of the story, and the Earth, she's very precious, and I wanted you to feel that, I guess, in the story.
Yeah. And of course, I think you've said this, that the state of the Earth is reflecting this very small story or intimate story that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's the
fragility.
That's right. The you know, the decaying of the marriage is kind of echoed in the state of the environment, and but also the state of the environment creates this ticking clock. It's like it makes you aware that our time is running out, and when you know time is running out, you do start to think and question: Am I living the life I want to? Am I living my life the way I want to live it? And have I done all the things I want to do? So I guess that's why the sci-fi and all of those elements feel very plausible and very close, because I want audiences to reflect right now on how they're living and take a leaf out of Hen's book, hopefully.
Yeah, it's also like it's a bit interesting that the house seems to be a little bit in the past. Actually, like it feels like we're not looking 50 years in the future, but like back in the 1950s in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Really interested in this idea of nostalgia, because it's what Junior's holding on to. He's holding on to this idea of the legacy of his family and the generational. And, you know, I can relate to this with Australian farmers. You know, there's a big responsibility if you're born into a farming family to keep it going. But right now they can't keep it going. They can't farm it. You know, there's farmers trying to grow cotton when there's no water. It's like, at what point do you pull up stumps and go, enough's enough, you know? And I guess there's something in that. And also it feels like a house full of ghosts, you know, like Hen has been trapped by all the women before her as well. And, you know, she's feeling like she's kind of trapped in this house. And so that was really a really lovely concept to kind of explore.
I just want to ask one more thing and just open it up for audience questions, but this, maybe it's a sort of tricky question, but how do you think about, and the actors think about, what is revealed to the audience, what questions are answered and not answered, you know? But what's great about the films, in part, is like the ambiguity, you know, but never knowing for sure like what's real and what isn't, and things like that. So I don't know, how do you sort of work on that with the actors, and how do you think about it as a story? I know that's a big question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a story you think you're watching and you're going along with that, and then you suddenly go, hang on a minute, there's something really wrong with this relationship. What's going on here? And I guess that's where the real meat of the movie is. It's like, that's where your mind is being occupied. What is going on here? And it's natural as a human being to kind of figure out what the hell's going on. And I guess we're very excited about that as a way of engaging an audience towards something that's meaningful in the storytelling, I guess. It was very exciting and enormously challenging to calibrate the way that we tell that story, because you can't cheat. By that I mean you can't just have a performance for the first time viewers. It needs to work for the second time viewing is actually the real story.
Yeah.
Hen is coming down and seeing her husband, or her AI version of her husband, alive for the first time. And she was shocked by how real it was. And we misread that for something else on the first time viewing. So I guess, you know, it took a lot of thought and calibration there. But that's what really excited all of us, the actors, the cinematographer, in how we kind of calibrate that.
And I'm sorry, I said one quick thing on that, but did the two actors work in similar ways? I mean, aside from the fact they're both Irish, but does Ronan and Mescal have similar working methods? Or?
Yeah, they're definitely in the same place. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so questions. I'm sure there are some. Raise your hand. So back here, and I'll repeat.
Okay. How has the process for directing Close different from the films that you've done in the past?
What was different in directing this film than films that you've done in the past, like Lion?
I guess this is more restrained in terms of it's smaller, like a chamber piece. So I found usually I do kind of sprawling stories with a lot of locations and things. This was very contained, so that was very different for me. It's something that I really wanted to do, which feels ironic, doesn't it? I just love actors and I love psychology, and this material I found really exciting to kind of really get my teeth into that with the actors. So that was the main difference. Also, I've been directing commercials for over 20 years, and in my commercials I kind of do all this crazy stuff, you know. But in my movies I hadn't really done that, so I got to bring a bit of that side of myself into the storytelling as well. So that was a bit fun to do something a little more genre as well. So it was a really fun experience for me. It was actually really enjoyable.
Okay, right down here.
I was confused with the ending. She leaves the note with nothing on it. So I thought, you know, she took off, but then she comes back. They seem to be amicable enough, and then you see her in an airplane. So what was that?
Okay, so she was confused about the ending because Hen leaves and comes back and leaves. What's going on?
Well, that wasn't the real Hen that came back at the dinner table. So you're absolutely correct. The blank note was the real Hen leaving, and she's gone at that point. She's gone. And then when you cut to Junior, probably for the first time, really reflecting on what he's lost, sitting at the table with a chicken dinner, this green light comes back, and we see a very different Hen enter the room. So I guess once again we're kind of curious around this behaviour, like why has she come back? And then I guess there's another little clue, I guess, for you to come up with the fact that she's replaced is with the bug. She says at the sink, I've never seen anything like this before. So I guess it is there for you, and yeah. So basically, Hen was replaced. That was a fake Hen on the porch with Junior, and he seemed pretty happy about that.
She's very pleasant, the fake one.
Sorry?
She's very pleasant, the fake one.
Well, she's for now.
For now.
It may change.
Now. Okay.
It may change.
Okay, it might change. Over here. Yeah, and then down here.
The composition of color and light and shadow. I don't know if I've ever seen the film, but I thought of, I don't know, 17th, 18th, 19th century European paintings. And I was wondering if you had an idea or you were influenced by something, and the cinematographer whose name I saw.
Matthias.
Yeah. If you were to discuss the look of that.
So the film reminded her of paintings from the 18th and 19th century. Was that something you were thinking about?
I mean, you're not far off the mark. I mean, I definitely, in all of my movies, use paintings as inspiration. I don't use other movies, I use paintings usually. And, you know, a lot of those paintings you're talking about for that era are about people in spaces and about a connection to a character. So yes, absolutely. That's a great reference.
Okay, right down in front, then we'll go
I'm
back.
sorry?
Oh,
No, nothing sort of specific, no. Oh, Andrew Wyeth was one reference for the, my mum, I always grew up with my mum. My mum was actually
Christina's World?
a landscape, sorry?
Christina's World?
Christina's World, the painting.
Was
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. We did a version of that with Hen Outside,
you know,
with
Pink
Pink House.
Crawling, you know.
Yeah, that was our version of that. I mean, my dear mother, who's not here, sadly, when I was born, she used to take me out. She was a landscape painter, and she grew up in a remote part of Australia, and I was often on the grass with her painting with these old Australian houses, just like this one. So I guess when I was reading this, I think I felt my mum's spirit kind of come into play, and she loved Andrew Wyeth. I grew up with these paintings, so she was just in my ear and said, "You got to make." So I thought, I'm not going to hide that fact.
I'm glad you asked that question. Now we get to learn that. That's important.
Yeah. So that scene where Hen is kind of removed from that death scene, you know, where, and she's put outside. It's this like a little celebration of the Andrew Wyeth movement.
Yeah, I wanted to bounce off something he said with the him being agreeable. That seemed kind of evil to me because the guy is also agreeable, and it's like, is it fair to replace somebody's spouse with somebody where you fixed what annoys them about their spouse? and that just seemed like a really evil way to kind of, and I mean that, like, evil way to kind of fuck with. I mean, their marriage is struggling, and it's probably going to fail anyway. But man, that's a really fast way to.
Well, we're getting to home marriage counseling.
But just to be clear, there's nowhere in the film where you see Hen agree to do it.
Yeah.
So Hen, in my mind, Hen doesn't know about the fact she'd been replaced.
Yeah, no.
So she doesn't know that. And there is ambiguity in Junior's performance at the sink when he sees the bug. And I guess it's not so much that he's thinking she a replacement. It's more about, I guess, the bug representing his inner nature and whether he goes against that.
But I'm going back to the beginning with like Luke. I mean, they fix things that she doesn't like about him, that are problems in the marriage. Like, he's okay with her playing the piano. The real guy is not okay. And so that just seems, like I say, like, I mean, again, the marriage is going to fail anyway. But that seems really evil.
Oh, totally. No, you're totally right. And I guess that's what really excited me about this is that Hen's not having an affair with someone else.
Yeah.
She's having an affair with the version of her husband she met at the beginning. And yes, I mean, Terrence has definitely got his ways.
Yeah, or it's the memory of that guy, right? Because of course that guy's gone; he doesn't exist anymore.
Well, he's still there, and he's still there at the end. He just is resistant to change.
Okay.
And that's the foe of the story: is stasis. The whole reason why we're in shit right now is because we're not changing anything, and that's what this is about. And it's like what Hen is saying to us is time is precious. And you can't take what is precious for granted. So we've got to start waking up. You know,
It's such a relief. The feeling you have when you see her on the planet, such a relief.
I love that shot because it's hopeful because she's decided to honor her calling and go out, but there's no promises. So you'll notice in that shot that the light just kind of dips a bit and she takes a nervous breath. But at least she's in a present moment. She's in her destiny right there, and we're not saying it's going to be sugar-coated because it isn't. We all know that life isn't. The sugar-coated version is the fake one. That's the sugar-coated version. That's where we're living right now. That's the stuff we're fed every day. That's the stuff we're told to aspire to. But at what point does that make us happy? Truly, is that enhancing communities? Is that helping the planet? I don't think so.
Okay, in the back, there were a few hands, but go ahead.
Is it possible that Terrence is AI?
Oh, is it possible that
We've been asking that question too. I'm thinking.
He used the wrong word.
like AI makes mistakes like that.
Yeah, well, Matthias, DP goes, God, I think that Terrence.
Oh, the question is, well, is it possible that Terrence is artificial AI because he makes a mistake with one of his words? So that's
It wasn't something that we agreed to do, or there wasn't any decision on that. But yeah, my DP, Matthias, was going, he's definitely AI. He's definitely AI.
But it's like, it reminded me of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and that
Yes.
film where it just makes you you go through that film and then you just look at everybody differently. Like
That's what I love about this, is that you just, every time you watch it, you can find something different, and you just keep going down a rabbit hole, and it's really exciting. And everyone has a different interpretation, and that is completely fine. Like there's no issues with that.
we don't know.
But there will be a point. I'm not real. There may be a point where you won't be able to tell. So what does that mean?
Okay, go back up there again. Yes.
It's a good segue, because I was going to comment on how the movie really gets going when Terrence's first scene sort of comes and says with the warning and the word astonishing later. The actor's doing like comedic, murderous undertones with those words. But I'm curious, I think I read in like for Dave Patel online, you made them like act out scenes as chimpanzees, and you made them do like chalk outlines to like fill it in.
Yep.
What did you do with like Aaron for rehearsal? Because he's like serving as this antagonist and talk about. What did you do for him to get that kind of performance?
Okay.
Aaron wouldn't do a monkey. He wouldn't do a monkey, or he wouldn't do. Just so you're clear, I do crazy rehearsals, and sometimes I get. I guess I'm not a big fan of intellectually interpreting how to act, and I guess I like to kind of explore physicality and things like that. So I used to do this monkey exercise, which was a lot of fun. Actually, one thing that we did do, which was a little unusual, was to. I mean, Aaron has a very precise process, so he would work very hard alone in his own time, coming up with reasons why he was making the decisions of the character, right? So he would come to it with a lot of great ideas. But I wanted some more monkey. I wanted some more looseness, and how do I do that? So one thing we did is we got, like for the dialogue scenes between Paul and Terrence, we just got them to play badminton and just run the lines while they're playing badminton, or doing something, washing the dishes, cooking dinner, playing badminton. And it just programs the brain to find things in a more malleable way. That was one little technique, I guess.
I think that comes through during the like sing-along scene where they're so relaxed and comfortable. A little too long.
Yeah, no, that was. But that's fine at that point, because if you look at Terrence's arc, he kind of gets overconfident, and the more and more he stakes his. By that point, Hen has no power. There's a point where Terrence takes over Hen's decision making, and he gets quite comfortable in himself. So that's where you start to see it all kind of coming out. Yeah.
Okay, right down here.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So I was thinking about the moment when he's out, when Paul Mescal is out and he looks at the fire, and then he ultimately gets tagged. So like, I kind of have like a two-part question: is why was he going towards the fire? And then the way that I interpret like the tag is, I kind of see it as like that tag kind of representing a new Earth, and eventually everyone's going to be tagged like I think of like the chickens and the way that like it's just mass produced, like we're all being herded. Was that something that you were kind of going for, or like?
That's a beautiful interpretation.
Yeah, so the scene with Paul Mescal is running towards the fire, like, why does he do that?
Yeah,
First of all, then he's tagged, and is that something you see?
Can't tell you how many times I've been asked that question, but not by audiences, but by studios. Look, there's a couple of moments in the film that are not junior design; they're pure AI moments. Does that make sense? So I guess it's a clue for the audience to go, maybe he's AI. He was, and the way that both AIs, the fake Hen and the fake Junior, responded to the beetle as well was very common and similar. So he was drawn by the fire because it was beautiful and mesmeric, and he wanted to go into it. So he wasn't drawn to the fire for a human reason. He was drawn to it from an artificial reason. So, you know, there was a lot of notes when I was working on that from producers, and that we need to dial up the danger and the drama, and it's actually the opposite. It's the wonder and the beauty of it. So that was that. In terms of the tagging, I love all that metaphorical association. I think it's fantastic, and that's rampant through this movie. I guess at this point, Terence has pushed the experiment right to the limits, and clearly he's starting to find the boundaries of that. And the tag is really slowing him down, just starting to wind him down. It's the beginning of his sedation towards death, I guess. In the same way a chicken comes into a factory, is gassed, put to sleep, and then on the line. So it is literally parallel.
Two more. Go right there. And
Okay.
I like boots.
Okay.
I thought your dialect coach did a great job. Sometimes the Irish accent, is overpowering. You can really hear it. These two actors did a really great job. I have a theory on why you kept Aaron with his, but I'd like to hear your reasoning for that. And I also wanted to ask about your composers. I saw 3 names listed. Really fantastic job. I don't know if they worked together or if it was separate pieces, but how that came about and working with that.
so the question about how do you work with dialect, and then the 3 different composers, and how do you work with music?
So with the dialect, you just work as hard as you can. And then you make up every excuse if it's not right. We all have different accents, even if you live here.
Kept Terence with.
That's right. Because we wanted it to feel like Out of More is a global company, and also this sense of an outsider coming in. So that was the reason for that. It just immediately helped the story and the sense of the scale. We didn't want to feel like it was just an American project. It was something more than that, which it will be. And what was the next? Music, yes. Good question. The very first thing I was very passionate to get done was to find Hen's music, and because that is a character choice, and it's a window into what Hen is hiding and what she's feeling, what she's yearning. So we did a bit of a sweep of artists for a long time, and then we kind of came across Agnes Obel, who's a Danish pianist living in Berlin. And it was just something about the music that didn't feel too virtuosic. It felt quite simple and relatable, which I was pretty keen on. I didn't want it to be Philip Glass. And so we sent her the script. She'd never composed before, and she fell in love with the story because she really related to Hen. A lot of women relate to Hen, mind you. And she was really moved by it. And then I sent her a breakdown of Hen's arc, the different kind of stages of her coming into her agency and her journey. And we spoke about that for maybe 4 or 5 hours, I guess. And then I encouraged her to just feel that moment and just, I guess, allow that music to come through her. Just be Hen in those moments. So she wrote these kind of 5 to 10 minute pieces, just, accessing the emotion of Hen. And I didn't change anything. Everything she sent was amazingly perfect. It was really amazing. So that was Agnes Obel, which was great. And then Saoirse could get on learning the piano and get busy, and all that stuff kind of would happen. And then I was trying to find composers, and I was really keen on trying to find music that gave voice to the earth, because that's the other character in the film. And I was always struck by whales, how whales call for each other in the ocean, and there's something very haunting about that. And I was going, what would the earth sound like? And I listened to a lot of indigenous music, which often is a very simple singular instrument, usually. We stumbled across Park Ji-ha, she's a South Korean artist. I don't know the name of the instrument, but it's like a very small flute, but it sounds like a saxophone at times, it just had a parallel. And and her music's just so pure and primal and timeless. So she brought that kind of sense of God and earth. And then Ollie Coates, who used to work with Johnny Greenwood a lot, he did After Sun, he did the score for After Sun. He came on, and he has a gorgeous classical training, and he did everything else. And then I encouraged them to come together, which I'm in the habit of doing. I did that with Lion. Got 2 composers to come together, and even on Mary Magdalene, I got Hilda and Johan Johansson to come together. I like collaborations, so brought them together, and it took a while, but it really came together in a beautiful way, I think.
And last question.
I was just wondering, that scene with Junior, when he's kind of just like fully breaking down before he starts punching the wall, it's an unbroken take of just Paul Mescal, kind of really intense. I was just curious on your approach to that scene as well as Paul's.
Just talk about filming that scene with Paul.
It's definitely one of my favourite moments of his performance for sure. I guess up to this point, the provocations towards him have been so cruel, and I guess the lies have been so cruel, and he doesn't have any power, so he's so frustrated and desperate. It's like a form of torture in a way. So he's at a point where he is only putting out honesty and openness and spiritual openness, and he's only being met with lies and deceit and cruelty. And I guess that in a way has triggered the artificial intelligence to almost kind of reflect back at us what we're like, I guess. That was really what we were exploring. Imagine if we had artificial intelligence could actually look us in the eye and tell us who we really are. And that was really fascinating. And we felt this is the moment where it could be earned. He couldn't control Terence or stop it, but he goes, yeah, I see things too. And this is what I see. So to achieve the performance, what I did do is I collected a series of images based on hope and love. So it was like images would make you feel amazing or cry even, like beautiful, hopeful images. And then I did a series of images which were the dark side of our humanity. So a lot of war images, orphans, homelessness, whatever it might be, that kind of looked at the other side of humanity. And Paul would come with his own preparation, of course, to the scene. And then he would do a few takes, and then that would be the moment I would then go, come to the room, please, and I'd show him these pictures. And these pictures were very powerful, and that was it. And that brought what I call colour to his performances, that moving from joy to pain, feeling the dimensions of our existence, almost like a conduit, if that makes sense. Very difficult thing to explain to an actor, and not every actor could do that. But I thought he did a beautiful job.
I hope you don't mind me ending with a business question, but it seems like the streaming companies are making a lot of movies, and often it seems like they're making the kind of smaller films that you don't see coming out of major Hollywood studios. So that's good that the films are getting made, but we want to see these films in theaters. So I'm glad this film is having a theatrical life. I'm just wondering sort of how you think about that. This sort of movie made, seen properly.
Yeah, look, personally, I've been saying this for a while. I really hope the streamers buy the cinemas or make their own cinemas, and we pay an extra $5 a month that we can get to go to the movies. That's what I really hope. I've been saying for a long time. Look, there's no doubt that it's a different environment. I think the rule of thumb is if you do a theatrical release, you've got to make 3 times the amount of the budget to break even, because they spend the whole budget again on marketing, and then 60% goes to the theatres. And 60% goes to the theatres, 40% is left over, and then you've got to cover all the costs of making the movie. So you've got to make 3 times the break even. Now with streaming coming in, it's impossible because people aren't going to the movies anymore. So it's like, how do we make beautiful movies and get people into a cinema to see it? Lucky for me, Amazon supported us in a proper theatrical release, and I guess that's what I'm always going to ask for and strive for when I make something.